Okay, so in the previous sessions, I mean, in the continuing session of the Quiskit, we have covered different type of gates. Then we also had a look on like what are the single qubits, what are multi-qubit circuits, and how we can create them. Also, we have seen like how to create, how to put a qubit into a superposition state, how we can make two qubits in an entangled state, then different kind of visualizations options which is available. All this has been already covered in starting, I think, in session 1 and 2. Then after that, uh, we covered several quantum algos, like Grover was covered by Rahul and Rana. Now, from the previous session, I started with the Shor's algorithm, and in Shor's algorithm, um, we just had a look on what are the steps involved in Shor's algorithm, how do we calculate the factors of a given number, and we had we have run this code and have seen like how we can calculate the um, how we can do the factorization using the already implemented Shor algorithm, which is available in the Qiskit Aqua here. Okay, so there are lots of maths behind that which I didn't covered in detail in the last session, and what are those and how we can.
Wait, shut up. We lost you for a minute over there.
Okay, now from where you lost me, Sam?
Yeah. Continue. Sorry. Huh.
Okay. All right. So just before starting, I can see many of you are from the Quiskit Summer School as well. Right. So can you just please type yes so that I can know who all are from Quiskit Summer School? In the chat, you can type. Okay, Tamal is here. Yeah, I know. Subodh was also here, right? Okay, anyways, I can see many other people as well. So starting with the Shor's algorithm, so the problem statement behind the Shor's algorithm is very straightforward. Like given a very large number, it's very difficult to find the factors of that number, because on classical computer it becomes computationally very expensive, and because of which it's not possible. And on quantum computer, if we are going to do the same using Shor's algorithm, it becomes much faster. So we had a look on like the exponential runtime and all, like how much time it's going to take, and how much time if you're calculating the factor of a number on classical computer, it is exponentially expensive. All this we covered. So starting with today, I mean, as for this session, we have clearly specified the agenda. We will be going, we'll following the Qiskit textbook here. And we will be covering like period finding, how then what is the solution for that, uh, calculating the factors, then Qiskit implementation of the Shor's algorithm, and then while seeing the Qiskit implementation, we will also cover Qiskit phase estimation and quantum Fourier transformation in brief. Okay, so let me start with the quantum Fourier transformation. So we all have seen a different type of. If you are coming from electrical background or something, for understanding the wave function and all, we apply Fourier transformation. I mean, classical Fourier transformation, right, to transform from one state to another. So the same way in quantum Fourier transformation, we here we apply this on the quantum state. I mean, if we see the normal Fourier transformation, which we apply on a vector, and it maps to the another set of vector according to the this given formula, where y is a set of vector yk is the set of the vector on which we want to map this particular set of vector x0, xn minus 1. So that will be given by the formula 1 by under root n summation of j is equal to 0 to n minus 1. This j denotes the, the presentation of the number of vectors, like 0, 1, 2, n minus 1, like that. Okay. And since we are starting from 0, so it will go till n minus 1. And then xj omega of j to the power k. Okay. So the same thing, if we have to calculate in quantum state, then quantum Fourier transformation, if we are going to see, then here also the basic, the basic motto is the same. We are going to transform one state and going to map it to the another quantum state, and that is given by the formula 1 by root n summation of n y is equal to 0 to n minus 1 omega xy and of kit y here. Okay. So starting with like why do we need to do the Fourier transformation? So those of you those who have already attended the lecture by Ab on Quizzbit Summer School, so Ab has already explained the concept in a very good way, and I'm also trying to follow his like how he has explained. So let's see how it goes. Okay. So if first we will start with the period finding problem. Okay. So if you all remember, we can represent the that if you have seen sinusoidal waves or all, so there the waves repeat after a certain period, right? So if that is a sinusoidal wave, or if it is some simpler form of the waves which is repeating like this, if you can see, this is a simple straightforward period which is getting repeated after the interval of after the period of 4 years, right? So that similarly, if it becomes more complicated, and suppose if we have some function like, those who have attended the, this is the same example which I'm using here, apps lecture, those who have attended. Yeah. So if you can see, if you have some phenomena like, yeah. So here also you can see, like after the interval of every 18 unit, the wave function is getting repeated. But suppose if we have certain wave function which is getting repeated like this, suppose this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis, and there is some wave which goes like this, and so on. Okay. So if we have to find the period of such type of function existing or wave in, then that becomes a bit complicated. So this is one of the example. Now suppose instead of having the whole wavelength where we can see and identify very easily like how the wave functions are repeating. I just have this part, for example, given. So that in that case, it will become very difficult to identify, right? I mean, what is the existing, what is the time period for this wavelength? Okay. So to overcome this, I mean, we have, based on this phenomena, basically Shor's algorithm was implemented, and quantum Fourier transformation and modular exponentiation are two of the base behind this. Okay, so first I will start with the quantum Fourier transformation. So in normal Fourier transformation, if you would have not this notebook, this one, yeah. So if in normal quantum Fourier transformation, if you'd have noticed, whenever we apply normal Fourier basis, either the transformation can go to the North Pole or to the South Pole. Okay. So that is the limitation with the, when we are applying some Fourier basis on the binary numbers. But when we apply quantum Fourier transformation, it can, it can go to the axis which is available on the it can go to the equatorial axis as well here, as you can see. So I will share the apps notes. Let me see if I have, and using that I can explain it better. Yeah. Mm, This is stage 3. Yeah. All right. Okay, so you can see, right, this is one of the hard example. If we have to calculate the uh, period here, then that will become difficult for us, because this is not very, if we take a particular portion of this wavelength, then it will become more difficult for us. So moving forward, as I told, like if we are doing the computational on the normal, um, applying the normal Fourier basis, then either we can have the values in like on the North Pole or South Pole, like that the value can be measured as 0 or 1 here. But the same if you are going to apply, if you are going to apply the quantum Fourier transformation here, it can be 0 Tiggle or 1 Tiggle, and so that can be represented on the that can be transformed to the equatorial axis. So if we are applying on the 0th bit, then that will come at this side, and if you are applying for the 1 Tiggle, if you are putting the value of x as 1, then that will go in this direction particularly. Okay, so while going through the notebook, we will see like how this is working. So this is the notebook which I was referring, right? So you can see whatever value of x we are putting in here. Based on that, the phase in the block is phase getting changed. All right. Okay. So moving forward, so you can notice here, right? Instead of moving from the base change of the two poles, we are moving on the equatorial plane here. Okay, so if that we can understand, if we have to calculate the quantum Fourier transformation of x, then that will be given by the x Tiggle. So this is the Fourier basis, and the formula for this is given by 1 by root n summation of y is equal to 0 to n minus 1. And here e to the power 2 pi I xy divided by n of y here. Okay, so this e to the power 2 pi I xy divided by n is the uh, vector responsible for the phase change. Okay, so if suppose we are considering the example of 1 qubit where n is, the value of n is equal to 2, and so if obviously the probability which we are going to get is either of getting 0 or either of getting 1. So if you have to calculate the phase estimation for the 0 here, so that will be given by 1 by root 2. The value of y will be from 0 to 1, since number of n is equal to 2. So we go for the summation from 0 to n minus 1, that will be 1 here. And again, we will put the value of, this is the generalized formula basically. So here we will put the value of x, which will be 2 pi I 0, y2 and y. Since the x is 0, this term will become 1. And if we will equate this, that will be giving us 1 by root 2 summation of y is equal to 0 to 1, kit of 1. And if further we solve it, kit of y gives us like, this is normal quantum state, right? So quantum state can be given as 1 by root 2 kit of 0 plus kit of 1. Okay. So similarly, when the value of qubit, kit will be 1 here, then x value will be 1 in this case, and when we will multiply, we will get 1 by root 2 e to the power. So here the summation will go till 1 here, right? So first phase will be, we will be putting, so this part will become 0, kit of 0 in first case, but in second case, this part will be like a kit of 0 plus minus 1 into 1, because 2 pi I divided by 2, e to the power 2 pi I divided by 2 gives us minus 1. So single state of 1 gives us 1 by root 2 kit of 0 minus kit of 1. Okay. Now if we further go more, and if we increase the number of qubit to see what is exactly happening here. So the number of transformation which is happening here is given by 2 to the power n. So suppose if we have 2 qubits, we can have the state 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1 and 1, 1. Similarly, when we are going to have n is equal to 3, so the number of n will be 8 here. Okay, since yeah, number of n is going to be 8. So if I have to find out a generalized formula for x single, that will be given by 1 by root 8 summation of y is equal to 0 to 7 e to the power 2 pi xy divided by 2 to the power 3 y. So 2 pi, 2 to the power 3 is nothing but n here. So when we'll start substituting values for x and y, and when we'll try to calculate uh, the values at different superposition state, after applying the quantum Fourier transformation, we will be getting some values out of it. So many times people do represent the y in binary form. Like if suppose if we have 5, then that can be given as 101, or here as Ab has already covered in Quiskit Summer School. So if we have 4, few people will write as numeric form directly, the decimal number they will be writing as 4, and some people will be using the annotation 100 here. Okay, so don't get confused by these annotations. Both the way is correct. Just try following it here. Okay. So suppose if the value of x is given by this, if we have to generalize this further, so 1 by x single will be given by 1 by root n summation of y is equal to 0 to n minus 1, and this is the basic formula. So if we have to map y vector here with the set of x quantum state vector with the y quantum state vector, so that will be, y will be representing here y1, y2, y3 till yn. Okay, and the values and the state which we will be going will be from like I mean, if we see the coefficient of these vectors when we are going to map it, that will be given by 2 to the power n minus 1 y1 plus, and so on forward. Okay, so if we further expand this, this will be nothing but the summation of when y1 value is equal to 0 to 1, y2 value is equal to 0 to 1, because we have nth vector of y as well, and for all of these we have to find the summation given with this formula e to the power 2 pi x, and summation of k is equal to 1 to n yk to the power n minus k. Okay, so this is the inner product which we are calculating here, or if we denote in the this symbol which you can see, this denotes the tensor product here. Okay, so we are going to find the tensor product of all the summation of y quantum state vectors y1, y2 till yk to the exponential of 2 pi ix divided by n. So if we further generalize it, that will be given by 1 by root n tensor product of k is equal to 1 to n k of 0 plus e to the power 2 pi x 2 pi I x to the power 2 minus k set of 1 here. So now when the k is equal to when we have to calculate for the first term, that will be so the value of k here will be we can say 1. So this generalized expression will become k of 0 plus 2 pi I x by 2 k of 1. And similarly, when k is equal to 2, obviously we are squaring it here. So this will become e to the power 2 pi I x by k of 1 here. Okay, so we have to notice one thing here, like whatever number of qubits we are choosing, like in this case, as we have selected n is equal to 3. Okay. Yeah. So as we have selected n is equal to 3, so there will be that many quantum state 2 to the power n quantum state vectors will be existing here. So x is equal to can be represented by x1, x2, x3 till xn. Okay, so if we finalize this term and we represent this by generalized formula, then that will be given by 1 by root n. That will be this is the one term for you can say x1, and then so you can see the phase here, right? How the phase is getting varied for each of the quantum state vector of x. Then we take the tensor product here, and then again we put up the value of k, and the phase vector will be changing, which will be responsible for the quantum state. I mean, this superposition state which you are seeing after applying the quantum Fourier transformation. this arrow is moving, right? So whatever the value of k is getting changed here, based on that, the phase of that particular state is getting changed. Okay, coming back to this. Fine. So moving forward, if we have n is equal to 3, then obviously we will be having the value of n is equal to 8. And when we put the values of for each of the expressions here, we will be getting this particular expression like 1 by root 8. Root 8 is again calculated by 1 by root n. We are just substituting the formula which we have seen before. And we will be calculating the value there. So the thing which we can notice here is 2 pi I 5 by 2. If we further expand it, that will be 2 pi I 2 to the power square by 2 plus 1 by 2. Okay, and for in integers, yeah. So here we are, whatever transformation we are applying, that is getting applied on the z-axis. So here we are trying to calculate, given this expression, we are calculating the value of e to the power pi I, which is equal to -1. Okay, so these are certain more mathematics behind that. I'm not again digging deep in this. I will share I mean, you can go through the notebook here of quantum Fourier transformation, and you can find all the mathematical calculations, whatever is happening in this. So what is happening when we have one qubit when we are applying quantum Fourier transformation on one qubit, then we have a generalized uh, quantum Fourier transformation equation as well, which you can refer and go through. Okay, so quickly I will finish this, then we will see the Qiskit implementation that I'm going to focus more on. Okay, so coming to the quantum circuit implementation. So as we know, like if we have number of qubits is equal to 3, we can have 8 quantum states. If number of qubit is equal to 2, we will be having 4 quantum states. So if you see, if we have 4 quantum states, that I mean, whatever number of bits are there, that many, I mean, 2 to the power n will be the quantum states existing in that case. Okay, so if in this case we will see here, if we have to start calculating the value, if we have to see like how these uh, phase estimations are getting calculated and what will be the 2 observations happening in here. Okay, so phase will be basically the qubit dependent. So if we start from the very first qubit, all the qubits will be 0. If we move to the next qubit, the last qubit will be flipped and that will become 0. And further, as we keep on moving, the adjacent qubit will keep getting flipped and 1. So when we will reach to the phase e to the power 2 pi ix divided by 2 to the power 1, it will become 1 and all the other qubits will be 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay. Yeah. So that is the case here. So for applying the quantum Fourier transformation, I mean for creating such circuit to apply the Fourier transformation on the quantum states, we need 2 types of operation. One is like we need to apply the Hadamard gate here, and another is the U root. U root here stands for unitary rotation. Okay. So talking about Hadamard gate, which we have already covered in the previous lecture. So if the value of xk is equal to 0, then that will be given by the size state kit of 0 plus kit of 1 divided by under root 2. And if the value of 1, if the xk is equal to 1, then in that case, phase state will be given by kit of 0 minus kit of 1 divided by root 2 here. Okay, I know there is lots of mathematics which can confuse you, but this is how the Fourier transformation works. So if we further generalize it, that will be given by kit of 0 plus e to the power pi I xk, kit of 1 divided by root 2. Here. Okay, and then we further apply the unitary rotation gate on xj here, and the matrix of unitary rotation can be given by 1, 0, 0, e to the power 2 pi I 2 to the power k divided by 2 to the power k. So in unitary rotation matrix, if you see, this is nothing but the representation of the state vector of the kit 0 and the state vector of kit 1, which we are putting the value of 1 here. So state vector of 0 is represented by 1 0. State vector of quantum state 1 is represented by 0 1. So instead of 1, we are placing the phase change in the exponential form, which is given by e to the power 2 pi I divided by 2k. So this basically will be this will be basically applying the phase change on the quantum state. So if we see at the quantum circuit diagram, like this will be something like this. So suppose if we have n is quantum states existing. So the very first step will be, we will be applying the Hadamard gate here on the qubit 1. And then after applying the Hadamard gate, we will be applying the controlled unitary rotation gate from x1 to the x2. So this value is getting calculated by, again, this formula, which you can look further, like 2 to the power 1 and so on, so that it keeps moving. So similarly, so again, in the next step, we'll be applying another control unitary rotation gate 3 to the x3, and it goes till the xn qubit. So this is the whole calculation which is happening for the qubit x1, and the phase of this will be changed. Similarly, if in the next step, we will be applying the similar same steps on the x2 as well, and that will start from, like, first applying the Hadamard gate on x2, then applying the unitary rotation gate on control unitary rotation gate on x3 from x2, and so on. Okay. Yeah, all right. So this will be basically the reverse order, which will be derived from after step n. If you will see, that will be given by, like, kit of 0 plus e to the power 2 pi x 2 to the power n, kit of 1 into the tensor product of quantum state vector of x2, x3, xn, and further we will expand for x3, then further we will expand for x4, and so on. Okay, so this is what is happening in the quantum Fourier transformation. Now coming to the circuit implementation of this, you can see, like, how the we are applying the Hadamard gate, and then we are applying the control unitary rotation gate, and how the matrix is getting generated. And this is the circuit which is getting generated. Okay. Yeah. So those of you who want to give it a try, you can just go to the Qiskit textbook and look for the quantum Fourier transformation page in the 3.7 section, and you can download the notebook and you can try that on your local system as well. Okay, so coming to the Qiskit implementation of this, I'm not going to write the code from the scratch live because that takes time and we have to cover this topic. So I've picked the notebook and I will just run the cell and I will show you, like, what is happening here. So here we are taking an example of 3 qubits, which we are going to apply the quantum Fourier transformation. Okay. So you can see we have 3 qubit, Q0, Q1, Q2, and I have applied first Hadamard gate on the qubit 2. Okay, you can apply on, you can go anywhere, whichever you find. In the exam, in the notes here, which I discussed, I started applying from Q0, but you can go in the reverse order as well. Okay. So we have, so the very first step to get the quantum Fourier transformation of the qubit is to apply the Hadamard gate. Once we have applied the Hadamard gate, we will apply the control unitary rotation gate, that is from Q2 to Q1, and then next we will apply from Q2 to Q0. Okay, so this is the circuit what we discussed right now. The phase estimation for the qubit 2 has been done. Next, we will start applying the Hadamard gate on qubit 1. Sorry. And similarly, we will again apply the control unitary gate from qubit 1 to qubit 0. And at the end, we will apply the Hadamard gate on qubit 0 as well. Okay. And after doing all this, we are swapping the bits from Q0 to Q2. So we have a swap gate here, which swap the values, qubits from one state to the another. Okay. So to apply the rotation, if so this is what we have seen in for the number of qubits 3. So further in this notebook, we have generalized the same function given for n qubits, and you can see like whatever number of qubits you have, you can just pass the number of qubit, and you will get the quantum Fourier transformation for that particular number of qubits. Okay, and then applying the qubit rotation here. So this is how your circuit will look like after. Here if you see we are performing the quantum Fourier transformation in the first 10 qubits in circuit without swaps. And further, if we generalize the function a bit more, then we need to add the swap register function as well, along with the quantum Fourier transformation function. And when we call, then you can see a quantum Fourier transformation circuit, like applying the Hadamard gate, then Q0 gate, and then finally at the end, we will be applying the swap gates as well, as you can observe in here. Okay, yeah, let's move further, and finally we are going to use the QFT function, and we will be viewing the final state of our qubits. Okay, so after swapping, we are plotting the block sphere of this circuit, and you can see Q0. Let me just find this. Yeah, so you can see the qubit 0 has been moved, has been put into this quantum phase, into this phase, and on some equatorial axis, if you will see Q1, qubit 1 that has been put on the phase change with y-axis, and this is basically denoting the z-axis, maybe, I think, I'm not sure. Yeah. And if you will see qubit 2, that is has been put on the hopefully on the x-axis. Yeah. Okay. So if we have to run the QFT on, if you have to do the quantum Fourier transformation on the real quantum device, right now whatever we have done, that was being done on the simulator, you can call this, and so this is the basically function for calculating the inverse of quantum Fourier transformation. We're going to call this function, and you can see like how the Hadamard gate and control unitary gate are being applied on these circuits, and what is the phase for each of these qubits. Yeah. Okay. So if you can see for Q0, it is 5 pi 5 pi divided by 4. Yeah. So number of Fourier transformation we have applied, that is 5. So for x of for value of x is equal to 5, the 5 triggered will give these phases, and the circuit will look something like this. So the same inverse quantum Fourier transformation gets used while calculating the period of the for calculating the factors using the Shor algorithm. Okay. Let me see what I am missing out. All right. So this is just a basic overview of like how we can draw the circuits for quantum Fourier transformation using the Qiskit, how the whole calculation has been done. So in this notes you can observe, which I am referring from the Qiskit Summer School. I thought to refer something else for this, but then when I attended this lecture, I found this more relevant and more clean and concise. So I chose this one here. Okay. Next basic element which I told like is the quantum phase estimation. So quantum Fourier transformation, we have already seen like what all are the steps involved. Like first we'll apply the Hadamard gate to create the circuit, and then applying the control unitary gate, and that will give us the phase estimation. Okay. Now coming to the, that will give us the that will put the particular state in the change with that particular angle there. Coming to the quantum phase estimation, so the steps involved in this is like first we will create the superposition for the initial state of the system. So for example, if I have to create if I have to calculate, if I have to find the phase estimation for x value is equal to 0, then in that case, I'm going to put that state into the superposition state by applying the Hadamard gate operation on it. Okay. Once I have applied once I have put that qubit into the superposition state, then I'm going to apply the control unitary operations on this. So as we were doing in the case of the quantum Fourier transformation, the same way we will be doing this as well. And the final, if we will, I'm not digging deep in this equations again. These are the again tensor product with some phase estimation here, which are getting applied for the 0 kit plus 1 kit. So again, there will be a unitary matrix which will be getting calculated. And so the generalized formula after applying the control unitary operation after this step will be 1 by 2 to the power n by 2 summation of k is equal to 0 to the power 2 to the power n minus 1. And here the phase estimation vector will be e to the power 2 pi divided by theta k of kit k, tensor product of our psi state here. Okay. So phase estimation is basically used. Suppose if we have been given a unitary matrix and we have a quantum state, so this algorithm estimates the value of theta. In case of quantum Fourier transformation, if you could have seen, we were just applying those transformations, but we were not pretty much sure like with what theta the phase has been changed. So for finding that value of theta, quantum phase estimation is being used. Okay, so that's why the very last cell which I have showed you, I mean, here we are calculating the quantum inverse of quantum Fourier transformation, which will give the, let me go to that cell. Yeah, which will help me in finding the value of theta, like with what angle that phase has been changed particularly. So after applying this, you can see this expression is quite similar to what we have seen in the Fourier transformation. So when we apply the inverse Fourier transformation on this, okay, after applying the control unitary operations, when we apply the quantum Fourier transformation, and when we do measure the value of the when we do the measurement on the expression peaks, we get the value of theta. Okay. So this is the general steps. So the very first step, which is involved like doing the setup of the number of qubits, like using for how many number of qubits you want to do the phase estimation. Put those qubits in the superposition state. Apply control unitary operations. That will give that is the general expression for this, and that will give you. I mean, we have to create the circuit for this. Then on that, apply the inverse Fourier transformation. After applying the inverse Fourier transformation, if we will measure the value, we will be getting the value of the theta there in that case. Okay, so here if we are taking the example of T gate. So T gate I have already covered while covering the different type of gates in previous lecture. So we know, right, the phase of T gate is given by e to the power pi I divided by 4 to the state 1 here. Okay. And the matrix representation of T state 1 for T gate will be 1 0 0 e to the power e I pi divided by 4. Inner product, the product with the 0 1. So that will be again the same thing, like e to the power I pi by 4 theta from here. Okay. So when we so since the quantum phase estimation gives the value of theta to us, so we expect the value of theta will be 1 by 8. So let's create the circuit and identify whether we are getting the same theta value or not. Okay. So for a single qubit, basically the states which the quantum state which can exist will be either of 0 or 1, and the psi state can be given by like fit of 0 plus fit of 1 divided by 1 by root 2. Okay. So this is the circuit you can see we have created. Here we have taken 4 qubits and 4 quantum bits and 3 classical bits to measuring the values and to find out whether what is the value of theta there. Okay, we have applied Hadamard gate on all the 3 qubits, and X gate to flip the values of qubit, fourth qubit. Okay. So all the, if you can see, after applying the Hadamard gate, we are applying the control unitary gate from Q0 to the final qubit, Q3. Similarly, from Q1 to, so these two are for the pi phase of, I mean, first, second, and third is for the qubit 0 to Q3. Similarly, second unitary operation which you can see, and this is for Q1 to Q3 control unitary gate which we are applying, and the last one which we are seeing is for quantum, I mean qubit 2 to the Q3 here. Okay. Then once we have applied the control unitary gate on this circuit, now next, in the next step, we have to apply the quantum Fourier transformation. So whenever we are applying some unitary transformation, I mean unitary operation on the quantum, I mean basically we can just apply the unitary operations on the quantum uh, gates, and quantum gates are being represented by the unitary matrices basically. So the dagger of unitary matrix U is equal to the inverse of the unitary matrix. So here we are going to calculate the same dagger of that unitary matrix, and we'll be applying this, we'll be calling this function. And let's see. So here you can see we have swapped the bits for calculating the theta values, and then we are applying. So this is the circuit which is being used for inverse transformation of, I mean for inverse quantum Fourier transformation here. And then we are measuring the values from all the three qubits, Q0, Q1, Q2, and storing them on the classical register C0, C1, and C2. When we will, okay, here we are, that is 0, 0, 1. So we see we get only one result with certainty, and so here we can see if we divide this result by 2 to the power n to get the theta 0, that will be like 1 to the power 2 power 1 divided by 2 to the power 3, which will be equal to 1 by 8. So which satisfies the T gate condition, right? Like we created the T gate and we know like what is the phase angle for the state quantum state 1, and we tried uh, estimating the phase using the quantum inverse quantum Fourier transformation. Pardon for the mistake. Okay. Now this has been done. Now if we try to get more precision, then you can use theta. We can even use, you can put some particular value of theta, and using that phase value, we will create a circuit, and then we will repeat the whole operation again, like applying the quantum inverse transformation by calling the quantum Fourier transformation dagger function. So this function is basically used for inverting the quantum Fourier transformation, whatever we have done, which will give us the value of theta here. Okay, let's calculate the values, and when this has been done with some, you can see here. Yeah. So these are the probabilities. So you can expect the result theta is equal to 0.33, which is this one, the higher. The other values which we are seeing here is like, you can see that 0.225 off by 25%. So there's different approximations for different phases when we tried calculating the values on simulator here. Okay, so the whole thing in the notebook they have again put together, and they have tried creating a generalized function. Yeah, so here they have increased the number of qubits. You can see like they are going up to qubit 4, different kind of operations they have performed, and they are measuring the values and plotting this out. Yeah. So, so with single increase of number of qubits, you can see the number of quantum states are also getting increased. Right? So if we have 5 qubits, so the number of states which will be existing will be 2 to the power 5. That will become approx 32 quantum states, on which we are going to apply the quantum Fourier transformation to measure the approximate value of theta. All right. So again, here I'm not going to run this. You can experiment with that. I mean, once you are done with running all these experiments on the simulator, you can go and run these things on the real quantum devices and can look what outputs you are getting. All right. So I will take a pause for a while here, and any doubts or questions at this point? We get theta as 1 divided by 8. Okay, fine. So for the first question, I will. T gate. Let me take you to the T gate first. Yeah. So T gate is one of the gate existing in the. I mean, is available. So when we do the phase estimation for the quantum state one, in that case, the value of T used to be e to the power 1 pi by 4. Okay. So when we will solve using when we try solving using this matrix and getting the product, so that will be giving us this value. So this theta, where the value of theta, when we will try to find that, that theta will be given as 1 by 8 here. So if the T gate is applied on the quantum state 1, that will be e to the power 2 I pi theta of 1. So where the theta angle of theta will be 1 by 8. So which further, if you want to understand, you can just plot a block sphere and you can see where the phase is going. Okay, I don't think they have plotted the block sphere here for T gate. Fine, they have not done it. Okay, so moving forward, so if we compile all these inverse quantum Fourier transformation and quantum phase estimation. So quantum Fourier transformation has only the portion where we are calculating the inverse of quantum Fourier transformation to find the value of theta, which is getting used in the Shor's algorithm for finding the period. Okay, and that period we will be using for finding out the factors for a given number. So this modular function and all I have already discussed in the last lecture. Like given a function of x, we have, that will be given by the periodic function can be given by f of x is equal to a to the power x mod n. And we have also seen several examples, which is also present in this notebook as well. Like if we have value of a is equal to 3 and n is equal to 35, then after each unitary operation, what will be the quantum state basically? Okay. So just to give a brief understanding of the period. So here we have created a random periodic values at the interval of at a certain interval. Okay, and we are plotting it here. So after plotting, you can see these wave forms here, right? And after each interval, we have marked some dots here. So if you see this, this pattern is being getting repeated after the period of 12. So for the normal waves or for the normal wave functions, it is easier to calculate. But when these wave functions are very complex, then it becomes difficult. For which we are using, I mean, basically the computation becomes very expensive. Uh, for which we are using the quantum phase estimation for finding the value of period r, which will help in factorizing the number. Okay. So in the those who have attended the previous lecture, you already know like the Shor's algorithm involved two parts. One is done on the classical register, and another is the which we call as the classical part, and another one is the quantum part. In classical part, we pick. Suppose if the value of n is 35 for a particular case, let's take an example. So we have to find, we have to pick up a value of a in such a way so that the value of a lies between 1 and n. Okay, the value of a should be greater than 1, but it should be smaller than n. And keeping that value of a, we try to compute the GCD is nothing but the highest common factor between A and N. And that steps, there are several steps involved in that, which I'm not going to cover. I've already covered that in the previous lecture. Okay. So there are certain conditions if, like for example, if the, for example, if the highest common factor or if the value of GCD which we are calculating is not equal to 1, okay, then that is a non-trivial factor and we are done. We will stop the calculation. If suppose that is not equal to 1, then again we will try to find the, we will move further and we will look for the smallest positive integer r for which will be given by the function of like f into x plus r equal to f of x. Or we can say f of x plus r will be given by, so x is the number basically, will be the f of x, the function which we have defined here, like how we can give the approximation. So f of x plus r will be given by a to the power x plus r mod n, basically, okay. And then further we will try solving it more. And so this GCD can be calculated by using the Euler's theorem. So those of you who don't know Euler's theorem, you can just this was my previous lecture in which I have explained like how the Euler's theorem works. I'm getting some all right. And then if r, if the value of if the value of p is odd, then we'll go back to the step 1 and we will again pick some random number and which is greater than 1 but smaller than n, and we'll keep repeating these steps, okay, until we find a non-trivial factor of n. And once we find the non-trivial factor of n, we will be then at that step. So the quantum part here comes in the picture when we have to calculate the when we have to find the phase estimation here, like when we have to find the value of r, there the quantum phase estimation is used, and in quantum phase estimation we are using the inverse of quantum Fourier transformation. So this step will keep getting repeated until and unless we are not finding the value of r. So this is the circuit, how it will look like. We are creating a quantum phase circuit. So you can see on, so this is the, you can say, size state given by an expression on which there are certain unitary operations being performed. And for the integer, for the quantum state 0, we are trying to find the value of r. So first we'll be applying for a certain set of qubits, we'll be applying the Hadamard gate, then apply the control unitary gate, and this goes on by the formula u to the power 0 to the power n to the power 1 and so on till to the power n minus 1. And then once this controlled circuit has been created, then we apply the quantum phase transformation on this part, which will help in, which will give us the estimation of the value of theta here. Okay, so the Qiskit implementation has already been given. So in the quantum phase estimation, we have already seen like even the swapping of the qubits are happening here. So you can expect the same in the Qiskit implementation of this. So this is the function given in the Qiskit notebook CMOD 15, which has been derived for calculating the and given the value of n is equal to 15, and you can see how the unitary operations are being performed, swapping the values, applying the X gate and all. Okay, fine. So, and then after that, applying the quantum Fourier inverse transformation. And once that has been done, so the whole circuit will look something like this. So here we are trying to find the factor of 15 in this current example, and the value of a which we have picked in this case is 7. So the same example we picked in the previous lecture also, and I showed you like what will be the value of all these and how the the value of fx has been calculated. So after a certain calculation, we will find like and in that lecture, I also told like how we define the number of qubits to be chosen, how we define the number of classical registers to be chosen. So obviously, the number of factors, the maximum number of bits which are the maximum factor can be n minus 1, right, for a given number n. So that can be represented by, you can say, three, uh, 3 or 4 classical registers. And if you have to find the number of qubits here, so that will be given by 2 to the power n minus 1. So there will be 255 things here. There was something which I discussed in the previous lecture. So based on that only, this calculation will be happening. And there will be certain periods which we will observe if we will try solving this manually also. You see like 3, 4, 13, and one more number is getting repeated periodically. Okay, so based on that, we will do the quantum phase estimation, and you can see the circuits how it is working. So we have applied the quantum Fourier transformation for all the qubits. We are measuring the values here, and yeah, so these will be the probabilities here. And further, if you do the phase estimation from these probabilities which we have got from different scales, then these will be the phase values in this case. Okay. Yeah. So further, if you want to measure the phase, then several other things they have done, like what is the phase, what is the fraction value, what is the guessed value for R, and you can plot this um, for the denominator to be 15. So instead of, so this is the Shor's algorithm implementation from the scratch. But if you can understand the concept, like how Shor's algorithm work and what are the steps involved, so Quizzkit textbook has already a good number of resources available, but still on Wikipedia also, they have given a very clean and clear explanation of Shor's algorithm, as well as quantum phase estimation and quantum Fourier transformation. So if any of the topics which I was not able to explain in a much clear way, and which is a bit confusing for you to understand, you can just go to this Wikipedia page. You can look at the expressions, how these are being solved, the transformations happening, okay, how the circuit will look like, what is the, how the periods are being calculated. Everything you can find with the reference link for the relevant topics. So quantum phase estimation algorithm, what are the steps involved, and most of the things you will already find on the Quizzkit textbook as well. Okay, so now, last thing which I just wanted to call out again, like we have already a pre-implemented version of the Shor. So if you have to calculate, if you have to find out, if you have to find the factorization factors of a particular given number, you can just import this Shor from the Aquadot algorithm, and you can calculate the values. Okay, so that's it from my side. Any questions?
Sadab, can you check your chat?
Yeah. Also, if we add the control equation from HP, Devanshi, I'm not clear with your last question. Still, even I'm exploring about Shor's algorithm, even I'm learning and taking the lectures. So I need to look at this part, and it's good if you can ping me this as a reminder in the chat, and I will just explore more about this, and I will get back to you there. All right. Yeah. I think, Sam, there are no more questions, right?
Yeah. There's nothing else. The first one by Devanshi. And
I
what?
have answered. I have
Okay.
answered this. Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. So what we'll do is, like we always do, we'll put up the YouTube video and the Jupyter notebook in a drive, and we'll share it with you guys. And before we leave, so whatever we were discussing at the beginning of this thing with respect to cryptography, August, I'm just putting a link over here in Zoom chat. Just check it out. Right, so August 1, we start with Shadab. I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I will start.
All right. So as we said, August 1st, which is next, so the Saturday after next Saturday. So we'll start with basics of cryptography, and then we'll get into cryptography implementation in classical computing. Then we get into secure quantum communications. So this will be by Dr. Urvashi. Then August 22nd, we have QKD, which is from QNU Labs, Quantum Key Distribution and Industry Adoption. Same QNU Labs team will be there on August 29th as well, where we'll essentially be looking at use cases. Because QNU Labs is already working in this field for quite some time, they have few use cases they want our community to come and help them with. So that will be very interesting to work on as well, because there's something that these guys are solving, which of course is very interesting and the right way to go. So finding out a small use case within what they're solving would be a great place to start. And apart from that, we'll have other use cases as well. So this will organically evolve. So just check out this landing page that got put up. So as you know, now Hack Series is part of the qubit level. So it'll be coming under that. All right, cool. Anything else we have to cover? Pradeep, Shadab?
No, I think we are good. So anyone of you are interested in starting some of your project with us, or if you have some idea in your mind which you want to share and work along with us, please feel free to ping us, either me, Sam, KG, or Pradeep, anyone.
Yeah.
And we will be happy to collaborate and work along with you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining in, and we'll see you guys next Saturday. Cool.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Shadab.
Thanks.